Hey, what's up everybody? It's the People's Crypto. I'm back again with another video. We have some interesting new developments in the traditional financial space and the global economy. But before we dive in, please keep in mind that this video is for educational purposes only. Please do your own research and please seek out a financial advisor with a background in cryptocurrencies or digital assets or even precious metals. All right, so I really felt compelled to make this video. It's not going to be like my traditional crypto news updates that I usually do. It's gonna just be a tad different, and the reason why I wanted to do this video is because we have a crazy global crisis going on. So many people are being laid off from their jobs, and so many businesses are closing, and it's creating the situation where people are in financial need. We see food pantries popping up, at least here all over the states. In different places, people are hungry, people are living in poverty, and unfortunately this is going to continue and it's going to get worse. And it's been like this for quite some time, but the current public health crisis has just made things completely worse, and it kind of like pulled the rug from under people almost overnight. Now, the reason why you'll hear so many crypto influencers and even gold and silver bugs talk about, exiting the system is because they've told us already that they have central bank digital currencies down the pipeline, and they're going to roll that out probably in the coming months or maybe in the coming years, where, China has already taken a major step and they have released their version of their central bank digital currency. And now we hear reports of Russia, the United States, Japan, and many other countries are going to be rolling out these central bank digital currencies. Now, they sound like a good thing, but in reality, they're extremely bad and dangerous. And the reason they're bad and dangerous is because they're centralized. The central banks will be able to see every single transaction that you make. They'll have the ability to freeze your digital wallet. They can tax you whenever they feel like. They can perhaps maybe even tax you on every single transaction. They can see every single transaction that you make. If you're purchasing something that you're not supposed to be purchasing, they could potentially freeze your account or let you purchase it, and then afterwards you could end up facing jail time. So there's that. And that's the reason why these central bank digital currencies are completely dangerous. Now, don't get me wrong. At first, maybe none of those things will happen, but later on down the line, they may be of great concern for many people. And it's usually not going to be right away. It'll maybe be, something here and there that'll occur. I'll put it to you this way. If you're using Facebook right now, Instagram, or YouTube, remember when we first had these social media accounts, they weren't censoring people. But then, slowly but surely, the community guidelines started to change. And then they said, hey, you can't do this. You got a strike, you got 2 strikes, and then you got 3 strikes. And then they perhaps maybe took people's accounts down, or they put you in Facebook jail, or they took your page down or your account down altogether, sometimes without a warning, or they said in an email, you're not complying with community guidelines, you're in violation. And that's what we're afraid. That's what we're really afraid that may happen with these central bank digital currencies. Now, it may not be like that for 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years, but later on down the line, they could then squeeze the populace and say, hey, you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that, this is illegal, you're not supposed to do this. Or they just freeze your account altogether and then you can't function in society. Now, that's what we're afraid of. And this is why you'll hear a lot of people say buy Bitcoin, because it's decentralized. This is why people will say buy gold or buy silver, because you won't have to worry about that, because essentially you'll be exiting the system. That's the benefits of decentralized cryptocurrencies versus the centralized central bank digital currencies. And also, if the central bank digital currencies fail, there is a pretty good chance that Facebook, Alibaba, Google, Microsoft, Apple, and many other tech companies may release their own versions of centralized currencies. Now, that's also something they may have in the pipeline later down later down the line if these central bank digital currencies fail. So that's also something to keep in mind of. And this is why we say Bitcoin, gold, or silver, or any other cryptocurrency, but a relatively good use case. Now, I'm going to jump from article to article, and I'm just going to show you the current result of this public health crisis. But I think this public health crisis has just really exposed the system for what it really was. Now, let's take a look at the first article. It says jobless claims jump, hitting highest level since mid-August. And this is here in the States. It says first time filings for jobless claims last week hit 898,000, above the Wall Street estimate of 830,000. It says that was the highest level since August 22nd and a sign of the ongoing struggles in the labor market. It says continuing claims again fell sharply, dropping to just over 10 million. But then we go down and it says American workers continue to hit the unemployment line in large numbers last week with 898,000 new claims filed for jobless benefits. Economists surveyed by the Dow Jones had been looking for 830,000, but honestly, 830,000 is not any better from 898,000. It's still relatively bad, but they're trying to make it seem like it's not, which is extremely deceiving. Let's take a look at the next story. It says Federal Reserve data shows over 100 million in the U.S. out of the labor force. It says data released by the U.S. Federal Reserve earlier this month reveals that nearly 39% of the U.S. labor force, nearly 101 million people, are not working, a jump of nearly 6 million from February 2020. And that is extremely disturbing. Let's take a look at the next story. It says unemployment rate by year since 1929 compared to inflation and GDP. And it says the unemployment rate is the percentage of unemployment workers in the labor force. It's a key indicator of the health of the country's economy. Unemployment typically rises during during recessions and falls during periods of economic prosperity. It also declined during 5 U.S. wars, especially World War II. The unemployment rate rose in the recessions that followed those wars. Now, it says the U.S. unemployment rate had fallen to 8.4% in August after reaching a peak of 14.7% in April of 2020. And, that's during our whole public health crisis. It says the total number of unemployed is 13.55 million, 7.5 million more than August of 2019. In April, 23 million workers were let go from their jobs in response to the coronavirus pandemic. So now just think of these numbers, saying 23 million, 100 million, it's going to keep getting worse. Now let's take a look at what it says here in the UK. Well, not here in the UK, but it says there in the UK. It says the UK unemployment rate continues to rise. It says the latest unemployment figures released today by the UK's Office for National Statistics revealed a continued rise in the unemployment rate in June through August. The figure rose to 4.5% and 0.6 percentage points higher than a year earlier and 0.4 percentage points higher than the previous quarter. The ONS says an estimated 1.52 million people were unemployed in the period, up 209,000 on the year and up 138,000 on the quarter. It says this chart shows the unemployment rate in the UK. And there we have it. It's just going to continue to get worse. Let's take a look at Russia. It says Russia's unemployment rate jumps 30%. Living standards are expected to be the main victim of the coronavirus recession. And I would even say it's not even a recession. I think it is a depression. Let's take a look at Japan. It says Japan unemployment rate rises to a 3-year high. They're also suffering from the same unemployment crisis that's going around globally. And this is the Mercury News, and it says pandemic unemployment continues to rise in Europe. The jobless rate increased to 8.1% in the 19 countries that use the euro currency. And this is just again to show you that this is a continuing theme here. And now let's look at here in the States. It says California, it says 350 debit cards for unemployment benefits frozen over fraud fears. So imagine that you're getting these benefits, but then you can't even use the debit card that's issued to you because they're thinking that there's fraud that's being committed, so they freeze them. So then these people are essentially out of luck, and they have to figure out a way to purchase things. Now they may have to dip into their savings, which they're probably already exhausted already, so they have no money to buy food or pay their rent or mortgage. I think there's mortgage stoppage right now, and there's also a rent stoppage, so landlords are not even making any income, and also the banks aren't making any money from some of those mortgages. So as you can see, this thing is going to continuously accelerate and get worse. Now, this is why you hear a lot of us crypto influencers say, hey, get Bitcoin while you still can, because essentially they will force and push us into these central bank digital currencies. They're dangling the little stimulus carrot in front of our faces, but in reality, the 1200 they might give us again isn't going to do anything, and it's not going to solve these unemployment rate crises that we're seeing going on globally. It's just going to continue to get worse. What they're essentially going to do, the plan is to push forward universal basic income, and once you take the hit or accept the universal basic income, it's just gonna be cool at first, because then okay, you can buy groceries, you can kind of like go to your go through your entire day-to-day like how it was previously. But the problem with that is over time, just like I mentioned earlier, they then may put restrictions on what you're purchasing. They may tax every single transaction that you're making. You'll lose your privacy. You may not be able to buy certain things. It'll just become this whole entire weird system that we're headed in, and you'll just be relinquishing your freedom, essentially. And this is why we keep saying in the crypto community, potentially get some Satoshis, stack some stats, try to get one BTC. We're obviously not financial advisors, but we see where things are headed, and CBDCs, or central bank digital currencies, is nothing more than digital fiat. It's going to be backed by nothing, and essentially you'll be relinquishing your freedom to the central banks, and that can be extremely dangerous. At first, I'm pretty sure they're not going to put any hard restrictions on if you're purchasing certain things, but then a couple years later, you may get your wallet frozen. You may be arrested for purchasing things you weren't supposed to purchase if it's illegal in your country, state, or province. And it's going to seem like it's the perfect solution for all of this because of the mass unemployment that's occurring globally. But they're kind of pushing us in this direction. They're demonizing cash because, cash might have germs on it, and if you use it, you might get COVID. They're not making as much coins, so now there's a coin shortage here in the States. They're really aggressively pushing us towards this digital ecosystem. Don't get me wrong, we have Bitcoin, Ethereum, and many other cryptocurrencies that gave us a head start, and it allowed us to get digital freedom. But unfortunately, as you already know, you probably have a bunch of friends and family that refuse to buy Bitcoin and look into cryptocurrencies. So all the friends and family that you have that are refusing to get Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrencies but a relatively good use case, they're going to be rolled into the central bank digital currencies in the coming months and years. And this is why I really urge you to perhaps maybe buy them $20 or $100 worth of crypto, whether that's Bitcoin, Ethereum, or whatever. Get them at least that. So this way you can kind of slowly but surely turn them into getting into cryptos. Kind of like, it's like a little drop in a river. It creates ripples, and eventually, before you know it, they're full blown into crypto. So this is why I always say that's probably the best way to get friends and family into the cryptocurrency space, opposed to just trying to explain it to them and telling them that Bitcoin is digital gold, because it's going to go through one ear and out the other, and they're going to just think you're crazy. So that's probably the best way to do it, because you don't want to be that family member that bought a ton of Bitcoin and they're looking at you crazy when Bitcoin goes to like $1 million and stuff like that. You don't want that to happen. So that's why I really urge you, not investment advice, just my investment opinion, is to just maybe buy them $20 to $100 worth while it's still cheap now. Don't wait till, Bitcoin's like 100,000 or $1 million. By then it's not going to really be worth anything, really. It's going to be something, but it's not going to be worth considerably a lot. 100,000 Satoshis will cost you maybe a little over, I think, $135, depending on when you listen to this video or watch this video. It could be anywhere around that, maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower, depending on what the current price of Bitcoin is. But just keep that in mind, because you don't want them to be rolled into the central bank digital currency system where they'll be relinquishing all of their freedom to the central banks. Now, if for some strange reason these central bank digital currencies fail, don't worry. Google, Apple, Alibaba, and many of those other corporations are waiting for the CBDCs to fail. Because once they fail, they already have, I'm pretty sure, their own plans to release their corporate cryptocurrencies. And Facebook tried it with their whole Libra initiative, but the Federal Reserve told them to basically slow your roll. They don't want to give up their power just yet. So they're waiting, and I'm pretty sure they already have something mapped out to roll out to the populace, given the opportunity that the CBDCs fail. So just keep that in mind. And this is why I really urge you to maybe look into the cryptocurrency space. Obviously, do your own research. If you're not into cryptos, that's absolutely fine. You have gold and silver, but I truly believe Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrencies with relatively good use cases will extremely outperform gold and silver. And that is already the case now, because one Bitcoin is roughly trading between $12,000 to $13,000. So keep that in mind. Don't get me wrong. Gold and silver, I think it's fine. But there's problems with paying for things in gold and silver. You may have to barter it, or you may have to go to a pawn shop to exchange it for cash, which that might be an issue because we're going into a digital society. So you can't use gold and silver online, but you sure can use Bitcoin, Ethereum, and these other cryptocurrencies. So think about that. That's why I said it might be in your best interest to at least get into crypto. If you want to diversify into gold and silver, that's perfectly fine. But keep in mind that transporting it and purchasing things with gold and silver, it's going to be extremely difficult. So just keep that in mind. And, this is the reason why I wanted to make this video. I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention, that the unemployment rates globally is getting out of hand. And I think this is just a way for the central banks to perhaps maybe push us into the central bank digital currencies. First, we're going to get stimuluses, and that's the case so far. And then universal basic income is going to be the last and final step. And when we get the UBI, it will probably be in the form of the central bank digital currencies that will be rolled out to us. We'll get digital wallets, and we'll get digital currencies deposited from the central banks directly to our digital wallets. Now, I think later on, there may be some censorship there, and they maybe could put a hold on transactions. I don't know. But just to be on the safe side, it might just be a good idea to look into Bitcoin and gold and silver, if you will. That is actually going to wrap it up for this video, but let's take a look at the current prices of the cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin right now is $13,123.27. Ethereum is $408.69. Tether is $1. XRP is 26 cents. Bitcoin Cash is $270.99. Binance Coin is $30.38. Chainlink is $12.36. Polkadot is $4.40. Litecoin is $58.29. Bitcoin SV is $181.95. And Cardano is now at the 11th spot, and it's 11 cents. That is going to wrap it up for this video. If you are listening on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also, please hit that notification button if you're listening on Odyssey. I would highly appreciate it if you hit that fire button, and I believe that is our like button on Odyssey. You can also repost the video on YouTube if you want. You can repost it on Odyssey, and you can also repost it on LBRY. And we are now actually on a new website called bitlink.tv. I will include the link to that website as well. It is another alternative to YouTube, Odyssey, and LBRY, and it's actually pretty cool. There's not too many users on there, but that's actually changing. I'm starting to see more and more people sign up for it. So please be on the lookout for that new platform as well, and please sign up for it. It's pretty cool. And that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for listening and watching, and I will see you guys and gals later.